The patriots were colonists in the Americas who wanted to separate from British rule. They wanted their own country. Most patriots did not have uniforms. They wore linen shirts and leather pants called breeches. They wore shoes sometimes made of wood or poorly made boots that didn't even have a different left or right foot. A patriot militiaman might have a hunting musket, which was a gun not designed for war. It shot out only one lead ball at a time and had to be reloaded with fresh gunpowder after every shot. Some militiamen carried a tomahawk, an axe made for throwing. Many younger fighters for the Patriots had to make do with slingshots and farm instruments like pitchforks. Patriots were farmers, blacksmiths, and shopkeepers, not trained soldiers. Many were poor, and the militia as a whole was not well fed. Only a few patriots had horses to ride. The patriots were fighting for their freedom. They were protecting their families and their homes, their friends and fellow countrymen, and their way of life. They were angry about not being represented. They wanted to be asked and included in discussions made about new taxes and laws. The Patriots fought in a new way called the ambush method. This method involved hiding behind trees and buildings, launching sneak attacks. They had learned this type of fighting from the Native Americans. In addition, the Patriots were fighting on terrain or land that was familiar to them, and in a climate that they were used to as well. The loyalists were individuals loyal to King George. They wore bright red coats as a part of their fighting uniforms. This gave them the nickname Redcoats or Lobsterbacks. They wore polished, custom-made black leather boots that fit to each individual foot. They also wore light-colored linen trousers or pants, and their muskets were designed for warfare. They had been made for speed and distance. The loyalists had horses to ride, many of them. They were professionally trained fighters sent by King George. For them, soldiering was an occupation, a job. Many of the loyalist soldiers were mercenaries, meaning that they were soldiers from other countries who King George paid to fight against the colonists. They were able to enforce the Quartering Act, which permitted them to take over and use any home, as well as demand provisions such as food and blankets. The Loyalists saw the Patriots as traitors. They were fighting for King George and the interest of the British Empire. However, these soldiers were weary of war and tired of being away from home, as they had been fighting the French for many years. These soldiers felt homesick for their family, friends, and their way of life back home in England. The Loyalists fought in a traditional fighting method. They fought the way armies across Europe had usually fought over history. They announced their attacks, and they were trained to fight in straight lines on open fields. They marched along to a drum when traveling from place to place. The Loyalists were unfamiliar with the North American terrain and climate, and thus often unprepared for the changing conditions.